Hey, this is Robert Monroe, and I'm coming at you with the second installment of this video series on reacting to royalty-free music. I want to do this again for two reasons. One is to let you know what is happening in this, why it sounds the way it does, and then hopefully have you realize that potentially what you want to use in your project comes from a real life musician and not necessarily some random person putting out free music on the internet. No offense to anybody that we're talking about. So, we're looking at motivational, uplifting, cinematic background music, royalty free, by Wave Beats Music, royalty free music. I have a small gripe, I'm pretty sure, with Wave Beats. Is it Wave Beats? I can't remember. One of these royalty free music places, the way that they get subscribers and clicks is commenting in a bot manner on like any video that you post that's music. So that is a little annoying. Actually, not a little annoying. It's a lot annoying. So if you do that to make your project, please don't. You want to leave a tailored comment that shows that the human beings behind the computer, by all means. Anyway, enough with my gripes. Like, subscribe for more. Let's go. Let's give credit where credit's due. This is a real breath of fresh air from the first one that we watched in this series. There's a reason why this has 5.8 million views, and I bet this is used a lot. And the reason why is there's a lot of things that are done really, really well, straight from the beginning. No specific atmosphere. We don't have a rain track. We don't have thunder going on. We don't have some creepy ambience. Nothing that will set a location and nothing that will force whoever's doing this to have a very specific vibe. They can really insert this in wherever it's appropriate. That's thing number one. The quality of the instruments being used for this and the sounds is quite high. The type of composition that we're dealing with is a lot more sophisticated. So a lot of stuff right away. Let's start from the beginning again. Let's do more of a blow by blow. We got this pad swell in. We've got this guitar going. Just whoop, draws you in right away, pulls your attention to it. It's nice and swelling. It's dramatic. That's all lovely. So we still have that 4/4 that we had if you remember the previous one. Again, 4/4 measure, it just means that we're measuring everything in groups of 4 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ba, ba. So, another thing I like, we're just staying on one chord. Very effective, especially when you're setting up something. Just that one chord, just holding, and then the melody going over the top. Let's keep going a little more. Piano comes in. Again, not bum. It wasn't 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. We have this little change in rhythm. Again, it's all about these little details. That's the big thing that makes music very convincing and feel like it comes from a human versus it just randomly generated on an AI, is these very small details. 1, 2, 3, 4, hold, and then bum, bum, and then we're into it. Let's keep going a little longer. Up to the 1, 4, 5, 2, Yep. I'm a little questioning that final chord there. I think they're falling into a pattern too quickly, but that might be my personal taste. We're starting to get into realms of personal taste because so much of this is actually done really, really, really well. We now have piano in. We've just added all these instruments. They weren't all added in at uniform times. Now, that structure might break down as we go on. They might fall into some of those patterns. I'm curious to listen to a little bit more of this. But right away, lots of stuff to be enjoyed. Lots of stuff that really elevates this and makes it stand out. Got the bass in there.
Wave Beats Music.
Okay, now we got the drums in. So it's starting to do the royalty free thing. Little bit of disappointment for me because it had such a strong start to it. What do I mean by that? Those phrase lengths are starting to be very, very, very obvious. It's doing just this thing over and over and over again. The phrase length on this is longer, which is quite delightful because 8 measures, which this is a lot nicer than 4 measures. But guess what we're going to do every 8 measures now? We're going to add a new instrument. So we did piano, then we did bass, and now we're going to do drums. And my guess is after that, we're going to do something else. Let's listen. Oh, the drums go out after 8 measures. Who would have ever guessed? This is like painting by numbers. It's just literally like, what are we going to do? Okay, we're going to cut here. We're going to go to the next part. What are we going to do? Okay, we're going to take that out. We're going to put it over there. That's literally what we're doing throughout this whole thing. Now, again, way, way, way improved from episode 1 of what we looked at then. Ultimately, this has the audience of everyone. And so a little bit, in my opinion, this has the audience for no one because it's so cookie cutter. Now, I will say, if you just grab that first 30 seconds, maybe 45 seconds, that almost in any setting where you want that sweeping, very movie, they say cinematic, I agree with that sort of sound. I think that's pretty good. But as it continues, it really starts to show its cheesy, royalty-free roots. I want to listen to a little bit more because my guess is they're going to do this 8-measure thing one more time. And then I want to break down some of the things I like, hit a couple more things I dislike, and then we'll be done, hopefully keeping this more to like 15 minutes. Yay, motivational quote! This is a great idea. They have multiple different versions. That is lovely. I didn't check if the other one had multiple versions, so if you do, my bad. But that's good, because as we talked about on the previous episode, we want some adaptability because we might want it to go longer or we might want it to be shorter, so that's great. We now are in a true B section. So in terms of form, you just label stuff. But what you hear is first is A, then the next thing you hear is B, so on and so forth. So in this case, we had our A section, and now we are into our B. We've got some more active drums. We've got some strings going a little bit more. Dun, 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 dun. That all helps to push us along. So that's quite lovely. We've got 2 different vibes. I think that's a really good thing if you're doing some sort of background music because if you have anything that has more than one note to your content, you can kind of go between the two vibes. So anyway, let's get into a little bit of what I like about this. The first thing I want to mention is that chord progression. So at the beginning, we have 4, and then we wait, like I said, then 5, then 6, and then 1. Already a more sophisticated chord progression than the first one. 4, then 5, and then 2, and then 3. I like that they're changing the ending. This is a really common way to get change and repetition. Remember from the previous video, there's 3 things that I want to talk about in all these videos because they will come up every time, I guarantee it. And you know what's funny? I had not watched any royalty-free music before this, but I knew this was going to happen. Why? Because I've written music. And when you write music, the 3 things you got to pay attention to: repetition, change, phrase length. So let's talk about repetition. They start each of those with 4, 5, 6. It's getting our ears familiar with it. We also have the guitar just going dink, 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 all on that E flat, which is the key of the song. That helps ground us. That helps establish us. It makes our ears comfortable. There's a reason why this kind of feels like a nice, warm, probably American flag blanket. It's got that sort of uplifting, patriotic, nationalist sort of vibe. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. That's all there. But there's also some change. It's not too repetitious. And that's at the end of the phrase, having those little changes. Now, the rhythm is much more enjoyable than the first one. But it is a little repetitious depending on how long you do it. And it's because you get that beat 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Chord change, and you're like, ooh, that was so fresh. And then it does it again. If it was a longer rhythmic phrase than 2 measures, I think we could stretch this and literally have the same music with no change for like 3 minutes. But in its current state, 30 seconds, I'm bored. Let's talk a little bit about change and also phrase length because they're going to be kind of married at the same thing. We're back to that every bit along the path. We're just refreshing. We're refreshing. This would be like every 10 minutes, you knew that something would happen in a movie and you just expected, oh, there's going to be a jump scare. We've all watched that horror movie where you're like, there's going to be a jump scare. And then it happens and you're like, ugh. Okay, fine. That's kind of what's happening with this. You're like, okay, they're going to introduce another instrument. When is that good? When is that bad? If you want people to be comfortable and you don't want to surprise them and you don't want them to be interested, which sounds like all bad traits, but sometimes that's true, then this is okay. But over time, I'm going to get bored. Even if this is in the background. Like I'm going to get bored of what you're saying because of this being in the background. So what I would recommend is establishing this pattern. Maybe doing it for a couple passes and then breaking the pattern. This is just staying with that pattern and just sticking with it. That kind of ties up mostly what I want to talk about on this. This was Wave Beats Music doing this motivational, uplifting cinematic background music. There's a lot of stuff to like here, but it goes back to this principle. Even with 5.8 million views, this is still very boilerplate, very cookie cutter, made for everybody, and in my opinion then, made for no one. So I would again step on my high horse for just a second and say and encourage you to seek out musicians to partner with to really make something special and unique for your project. This has been Robert Monroe. We've been talking about royalty-free music. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a comment. Maybe you know of some amazing royalty-free music I can check out. And until next time, peace.